I didn't buy them because I was prepping. So lovely to be here with everyone. Um, so to compensate the lack of Coldplay tickets on my part, I hope all of you or some of you got some of them. But we do have interesting insights to share with you. So my name is Basil. I lead marketing for Saudi and for retail across Middle East and North Africa. And I also look after the Think with Google platform. And I've been working with Shivani for the past probably year on looking at peak season and how can we understand it and how can we find the latest trends over there. So I'll let Shivani introduce herself and then we can start it from there.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us in the middle of all the Coldplay frenzy. I'm Shivani Jain. I'm the industry manager on the retail team here in Dubai. And I have been very excited to actually look into the trends of this market, how they're evolving on the peak season specifically. And as Basil mentioned, we looked at the trends, last year, this year, but also compared them to the years past, starting almost going back as far as 2014. And it's quite interesting to see the trends that are evolving. And that's what we want to share with you, a small part of that today. Over to you, Basil.
Awesome. So as Shivani mentioned, as a result from the research that we've done and analysis we've done, we found three main things that we're going to discuss today. So the first is talking about the new search baseline that we found. And then we're going to look at the entry and growth of global players. And we'll finish with the Q4 consumer peak moments that are coming ahead and how can we best prepare for them. So let's get into it. Just as a disclaimer here, the time focus of this is second half of the year. Some of the peak moments have passed, similar to back to school and Saudi National Day, and we'll focus on the remaining ones. Most of the insights here are for UAE and Saudi. However, if you need other insights, feel free to ask your account manager. We have similar insights for other markets. So let's start with the good news. The good news is if you look at retail search interest, in MENA, we've actually been growing 15% year over year. Now that's on a whole lot of queries. So that's on like billions of queries that happen every year for retail related categories. And this growth is actually quite unique to our region. So we have around 15% year per year growth in queries, while other countries around the world are seeing single digit growth. So, for example, 4% in the US or 8% in the UK. You find India also having similar growth to us, around 15%. In Saudi, it's actually a little bit higher with 17%. The other interesting thing that we typically find is that the second half of the year typically is higher than the first half of the year, and that sets the baseline for the year after. So right now we are approaching the growth period. And as a result of that, let me just go here. This is very lucrative for a lot of global and international players. So you'll find many e-commerce players, many retailers launching their operations in MENA. So last year, you found that Timo actually launched, Shein increased their operations, Yango made a play. You find car manufacturers increasing their presence with cars all over the street here in Dubai, for example, the Build Your Dream cars or the J Tour cars. So you'll find a lot of international players upping their investment in this market as a result of their growth. And we can't really speak about these international players without recognizing the really big impact that Timo brings to the market. So Timo is probably one of the biggest and fastest companies to grow, not just in our region, but globally. Earlier this year, they ran ads in the Super Bowl in the US, and they took 8 slots. Now, from an advertising perspective, that is incredibly expensive, and no other brand does that. It was interesting that they ran the same ad 8 times. So it's just an indicator of how fast they're growing and how much they want to establish their presence in key markets. So this kind of inspired us to look at their app downloads, how fast have they grown in the US, and then see how that translates here. So if we come here, you'll see that Timo launched in the US in around 2022. And within 6 months of their launch, they actually became the number one shopping app that was downloaded in the US. And then similarly, upon launch, they actually achieved around number two or number three in terms of active app users. Now, that is incredible to see in a market that is, as saturated or as big as the US market. It's not something that you see every day. So we took a look at this in the UAE and KSA, and we can definitely see similar trajectories. So within 6 months, they've actually also, come close to the top position, bypassing many established players in the market. And this is both from an app active user perspective, but also from an app download perspective. Um, and if we look at it at the top 10 shopping app downloads and the top 10 shopping app active users, you'll find that actually Timo comes up in 2023 in both the UAE and Saudi. So in 2022, you would find Shein typically at the top, and now Timo. And it's not just Timo and Shein. It's actually there are many other global players that have come. So if you look at 2022, around 17% of the top app downloads were from international players, and the others were from local players. With the launch and growth of Temu, Trendyol, Shein, and AliExpress, actually the share of global players is around that 65%. In KSA, and 66% of the apps that are downloaded within that period. So it's just noteworthy to see the competition that's coming to our market, and something that we should take notes of. Um, and obviously here, if you look at the top companies, they've all risen to the top. So in 2022 in Saudi, it was just Shein as an international player at the top, and then 2023 you find all four, and the same thing is found for UAE as well. And the impact of this is not just them entering the market. They've also noticed that it is important for them to take presence in the peak moments that happen in our region. So what we found is that their queries also grow, and they've launched campaigns during peak moments that have happened. So last year they had a very big presence, and they did peak during Singles Day and Black Friday. Earlier this year, we also saw a significant spike for their for the search interest for these brands during these periods. So it's something that to note as we prepare for the upcoming peak moments. We should expect some competition that's happening over there. More than their expansion towards their markets, so their geo expansion, we also find them, expanding their service offering. So Trendyol, for example, in their home country of Turkey, have started expanding their offering into online groceries. Shein is expanding their offering from fashion to offer things like skincare, toothpaste, or toys and things like that. You'll find other companies starting to expand their offering to leverage their extensive supply chain. So we paused here and we asked, why are peak moments so important? Why do we need to dedicate a session about this? Why do we need to do all these research? And one thing that came out is that it's an incredible time that we get to invent new words. So with an emoji burst, has anybody heard of the word spaving? Or does anybody know what that means? Um,
No.
it's one of my new made up words. I didn't make it up, the industry made it up. So basically, it means spending to save. No, it's not save to spend, it's spend to save. It's counterintuitive, but it's symbolic about the peak season. And the idea of that is that if you actually, spend more during, shopping sales moments, you're actually saving on the long term, which is a very interesting concept. But the concept of discounts and discount moments and peak moments is common all over the world. So the West has, what they call the Big Five. They have Cyber Monday, New Year's, they have Thanksgiving, Christmas, Black Friday, all of these. What we found interesting is that the East really, really liked it. And, Black Friday or Singles Day started as, 11/11, right? So what they decided to do is actually to extend that further, and they call it double digit day. You know, so in the East, in Eastern countries, you'll find 9/9, 10/10, 11/11, 12/12. And what I love about this is that they started calling it, double dates. So Singles Day was 11/11, and then 9/9, 10/10 is called double dates. I found that kind of funny, but I also am easily entertained by these things. So excuse my humor here. So when we look at it, closer to our region, we find that the second half of the year has five big peak moments. So it starts off from back to school, then you have Singles Day, then you have Saudi National and Black Friday, and you have end of year. And these actually have around 12 weeks of heightened consumer interest, and they grow the second half of the year in terms of, retail interest. And that's what tends to set the baseline for the next year. So you'll find that actually the period of period growth and the year-over-year growth for each of these moments is actually quite significant. And, to note that that is a lot of queries that happen. So even just, a 6% jump in retail queries, that's a very, very big amount in absolute number of queries. And consumers also, take big part of it. So when we ran a research with Ipsos last year, we found that 72% of people actually save up and wait to buy a product. So we know that, there is that interest from consumers. We know that international players are, preparing to enter into these moments with offers like we've seen what they've done in Ramadan and Black Friday and New Year's last year. But what's also interesting is that given the consumer interest in these moments, it's not just that other retailers have entered the market. We found that other companies or other industries started thinking about, this money that people have. So Jamie, yes, we will be sharing a version of this after the call. Um, and just to the point here, you have a peak moment, and you have people who have saved an amount of money, which is an excellent opportunity for other industries to take part in. So what we find is actually, you know, things like, one second. Yeah, so you find things like telecom entering here. So Etisalat launching a campaign saying green is the new black, or the popular app in UAE around Privile. They also have a Black Friday sale, or Netflix actually also having a Black Friday sale, selling some of their merchandising and things like that. And one of the interesting things that came out is Etihad. And Etihad Airlines, what they did, they actually launched a Black Friday campaign to sell their tickets and their flights. And they had a very interesting campaign, and it was a mass customized campaign for if you were searching for an iPhone, they would come and tell you, why don't you buy this iPhone from the US? Or if you're searching for a bag, they'll tell you, why don't you go buy this bag from Italy? So it had incredible success. I would recommend that you check it out after the call, just for the sake of time. And with that, I'll hand it. This is the yes. I'll hand it over to Shivani.
Thank you so much, Basil. That was super interesting. And Basil spoke about heightened consumer interest in H2 overall. And we looked into the data to identify what are the most important trends for this year's, kind of almost a roller coaster ride, which is there are peak moments of, shopping interest. And then there are some breaks in between, some breathing moments in between that you can get into, prepare yourself for the next peak moment. We already actually went through two of these peak moments very recently, starting with back to school. Can I get a quick emoji burst of how many people did back to school sale? And maybe you can add in some flavor of how did it go for you? Wow, okay. A lot of you. And clearly looks like it has gone really well. And that's what we actually were expecting as well, given the number of student population in both Saudi and UAE, and Saudi specifically seeing a much higher growth. But we also had another important one very recently, which is Saudi National Day, and this came right on the heels of back to school. And not only is this the day when Saudi turns green, but this is also the period which is now turning into a shopping frenzy of like one of the highest peak moments in Saudi. So I hope you actually were able to activate a Saudi National Day sale as well for your businesses, because we have seen that a lot of local players starting to leverage on this particular moment. And it's not just retailers, it's actually across the board, starting from restaurants to theaters to travels and airlines and everything. So these two moments have already warmed us up for what's to come in the rest of the year. And starting with the big two, which is coming up in the November period, Singles Day and the OG Black Friday. Who here actually activated Singles Day last year, like with the branding of Singles Day? Awesome. So some of you did definitely. Last year, we spoke about the fact that how our big November is turning into a twin peak season. So it's basically what Basil was talking about, how there is a merging of moments which are coming in from the west, and then the moments which are coming in from the east. And that has led to it becoming almost like a twin peak phenomenon. If we look at what actually happened last year, we did see this playing out. If you see that around Singles Day, we saw a high growth in retail search queries, around 16% year on year. And then again on Black Friday, it went up to almost 22% year on year. And if you remember from the previous slides, this is much higher than the actual average retail query growth, indicating that there is a peakiness which is coming in on these two moments. I just wanted to quickly call out that there was in 2022 a phenomena of World Cup, which led to the Black Friday as a moment itself not seeing as much of a peak, but it did like lead to an overall much higher November season in 2022 as well. And when you actually look at when does these interest around these moments start, it actually starts almost around the end of October. People already start preparing, looking for the brands where they want to buy from, and looking into what their wish list of the products is. If you are a business who's looking into acquiring new customers, you can also pay attention to the fact that when do people, specifically for online businesses, start downloading shopping apps. Given our region is a very app-heavy market, this is one of the important ways in which you can actually acquire new customers. And even the app downloads, as you can see here, start seeing an increase in interest or increase in downloads right around the last week of October. And it keeps going up, peaks around Singles Day, and then, of course, the highest peak is around Black Friday. And this year, we are actually going to see that Black Friday falls on the 29th of November. So as you know, that Black Friday keeps shifting every year. And this year, we actually have it towards the end of the month, which is going to make things interesting. What we saw last year is that the week between Singles Day and Black Friday kind of blurred the demand, as it used to drop in between the weeks, and it used to be a little bit of considered to be a bit of a calmer week. Didn't really happen to that level. And we saw the retail search queries actually growing almost by 16% even in the week in between. And this could be due to the fact that Black Friday last year was 24th. It was close to Singles Day, and then there was not a lot of gap between the two periods. But we also feel, and another hypothesis that we have, is that it could be due to the plethora of, branding and dates that each of our businesses offer during Black Friday. So, interestingly, in our region, Friday has a lot of different colors. It's not just, white Friday. It is also yellow. It is also pink. And it is also sometimes called Croco Friday. So I love how innovative we have gotten and how we have really branded it as per our businesses. And this could be one of the reasons that with different dates and with different branding, that consumers actually have started considering November as a whole big shopping season. In fact, if we take this a little further, we also see that it's not just Friday anymore. Some of the brands, like the ones that you see on the screen, have actually created their own Wednesday, and they have called it White Wednesday. So it's actually a lot more choice and offers that are being provided to the consumers, and it's across the board. And when I say across the board, as Basil was mentioning, Black Friday is not just for retail anymore. We saw how there are now companies like an Etisalat or a Netflix also offering, Black Friday sales. But when we started looking into it a little bit deeper, we noticed that it's not just that these brands are offering, discounts and promotions. We also see there is a demand for it now, as there is a clear twin peak or a Black Friday peak that we can see even in other industries such as a CPG or a travel beyond retail in our regions, which means that the consumers now have a limited wallet, but they have a lot more choice and a lot more things that they can spend their money on. And when that is the case, Basel actually says, so this is a quote, by the way, from him, that when consumers have choice, offer value. And I really love that quote, and that's why literally put it here, because we want to call out that when you say value, what does value mean? And that is something that we'll be if you have gone through our creative sessions and the product sessions that we'll be going through, value does not mean just price. Value is also, offering the most innovative discount, offering the most standout product selection, and many other things that you can put in to your business's value during this period. When we move ahead, we actually come to another moment, which is the end of the year. I want to ask how many of you actually think that end of the year is a high shopping moment and are planning to run a sale around it? I love that there is a mixed response, but a lot more thumbs ups coming in. Awesome. So when we actually looked into it, and even we weren't like fully convinced until last year that, end of the year, is it a moment? Is it just what we have known earlier, which is around gifting, shopping, and New Year shopping? But what we see that there seems to be a new trend emerging around the end of the year. We compared the retail queries at the end of October, so like right when the November season starts, to the end week of December. And we found out that when we were in 2021, the retail queries would kind of stabilize and in fact would come down a little by the end of December. So there was actually a lowering of demand that used to happen. By 2022, this kind of became flat, and we saw a little bit of a 2% rise in the last week of December as compared to the October week. In 2023, that rise has actually now become 7% as compared to the October period, and it looks like the retail demand only has kept increasing by the end of December. And when we look into it a little deeper, we actually saw that the consumers are looking for discounts in the last week of year. If you see this chart, the demand for discounts in Saudi specifically is almost as high as in the week of Black Friday. And that is very interesting when we also saw that some of the local players like Extra or Jari, they have started running end of the year sales. And this could probably be fueling the demand, but also there could be a demand which is now starting to build around New Year's, Christmas, or general like celebration, even in countries like Saudi. And we saw that the discounts actually last year in the last week of December grew by almost 20% in Saudi. With UAE, we continue to see a very strong trend of holiday shopping right in the week of Christmas, and that continues to grow by almost 17%. And this is the reason why we believe that end of the year, the last 2 weeks of the year, are in itself becoming a shopping moment. And it's something for your brands to experiment and test with probably this year. With this, I'll actually close I know there might be a lot more queries and interest around understanding category-led level insights and what goes up during each of these moments. You can reach out to your Google team to get little more details on category level trends. And in addition to that, this year we have tried to put together something to help you plan for your peak period. This is a peak canvas which you can use to put down your thoughts, put down your planning, and then discuss with your Google teams as to how do you go about activating your peak period. This will be shared with you along with all the other resources that we'll be sharing across from today's session. Thank you so much. And I'll hand over to Elisa now for the product sessions.
Thank you, Shivani. That's not Elisa, that's Celine.
Oh, I'm sorry, Celine. Handing over.
No worries, but Elisa will come just after. Hi, everyone. It's very nice to have you all in the call. I'm just trying to, I think I don't have access yet to the slides. Yes. Okay. I will just need to, maybe Sarah, please, if you can just give me presenting access, that would be amazing. So hi, everyone. So what we'll be doing now, we'll be moving a bit gear from insights, and we're going to go into product. So what we'll be doing today is really take you through like the top tips that we believe would help you win peak season with our solution. So what I will be covering today will be search. I'm really looking forward to that. My name is Celine. I'm the search specialist for Google MENA based in Dubai. I think I've been working with some of you. And please make sure to add your question in the chat box so we can cover this at the end of the session and answer your questions. Amazing. I do have access, so we should be fine. So for today's agenda, as I said, we're going to cover a few tips. The purpose of this session is to make it very actionable. So you will realize that the insights that we share are in a checklist format to make sure that it is very easy and for you to digest the content. So all the tips that I will be sharing on AI-powered search will be covering mainly three main sections. All the insight will be around targeting, creative, bidding, and budget. So obviously, those are like the core component of how search works, and I want to make sure that we share all insights and checklists according to those three tips. So starting with that, I still want to acknowledge the most important thing here is that this peak season, it's very much important for you to leverage all of our Google Ads AI solutions. All of our solutions today are powered by AI, which would help you make the difference in a more competitive landscape, in a space where demand is really changing. So leveraging AI-powered tools will really help you as retailers or businesses who are activating during the peak season. So we can never talk about search without announcing the ads power pairing. So whenever you have a search strategy, we always recommend leveraging search and PMax together. So that's the most important thing. I hope this is not new to you. We believe that search and PMax together works best, and this is our ads power pair for performance overall. We believe that by using search and PMax together, you are able to multiply the results and hopefully increase efficiency and ROI across our platform. So search is your keyword-based campaign type, and PMax is your keyword-less type of technology that is also powered by AI. So what I will be doing today, I will be covering the search part, and Elisa will come just after and cover all the PMax best practices accordingly. So starting with search, as I mentioned, we're gonna going through different categories: creative, targeting, and bidding and budget. And you will be able to see the label on the top of the slide for you to have an idea of like what are we talking about here. So the most important one, which I hope this is not new to you, is ensuring that you leverage all of our creative excellence tool to be able to maximize performance with your search campaigns. What does it really mean when you talk about creative excellence? It's mainly three components. One is ensuring that you have at least one RSA with good or excellent ad strength. Two is ensuring that you also have image assets, so at least 4+ image assets per ad group. And last but not least, which is something that has been recently launched, is ensuring that you have business name and logo at account level. So that I would be this is a very low-hanging fruit opportunity for you to make sure that when you are serving an ad on search, on the result page, we are able to recognize the name of your business and the logo. So it really helped with the user experience, and we believe that it actually helped you drive incremental conversion up by 8%. So again, those are like the core of what we mean by creative excellence on search. And this is really not just for only peak season, but this is something that should be part of your always on search strategy, but should be very much emphasized during peak season. Now, if we were to be a bit more specific, again, zooming into creative excellence a bit more, when it comes to your RSAs, I typically get the question that, we are not happy with the RSA performance, we are not happy with our CTR, we're not happy with our conversion rate, and sometimes it is a matter of fixing the core and the hygiene, which are listed here. I would say like the one thing to keep in mind here is please leverage all of your headline as description. So please ensure to include 15 headlines and 4 description. It could be as simple as that to make sure that you are really maximizing the power of your RSA. As I mentioned, let's make sure that you have good or excellent at strength to optimize your RSA specifically. Now, specifically for peak season, I would maybe add more into that. And to make sure that you are ready for the season. So as a first option, we would strongly recommend to either add to add your peak related assets, so new headline and description that are related to your sales as part of your always on RSA. So that's kind of like option number 1. Option number 2 is to create a completely new RSA that is specifically targeted for your peak season. In that case, please make sure to also don't forget to add like any peak and sales keyword into the always on ad groups. That would be kind of like the second option. If you were to go with the second option, we would also recommend using label. So you can label this new RSA as a sales peak season Black Friday RSA at ad level for better accurate reporting and for you to have an idea of like how this new RSA is performing across the board. As a second set of tips that we recommend when it comes to creative excellence is definitely please make sure to leverage dynamic keyword insertion. Again, this is not only relevant for peak season, but we believe that during sales moment, it is even more important for you to be relevant and being as customized to the user query. So we would recommend like using this while you have like new peak and sales keyword in your ad group. This would help you have like better and more fresh RSA assets in that case. There's this new feature as well that I want to mention about. It's actually a feature that has launched last year officially, which is called campaign level text asset. So what this does, it is a campaign level opt-in feature that you can add or you can leverage. And what it does is that it helps you associate up to 3 headlines plus 2 description on top of your existing assets. So if you have like specific messaging that you want to push during the sales season, you are able to add on top of your 15 headlines and 4 description additional assets for the peak season. And what is good about it is that you can schedule those assets. So you can maybe choose a start date and an end date just for the sales period, and you are able to push 3 additional headlines and 2 additional description to your RSA at campaign level, and this would be automatically associated to all the RSAs that are within the campaign. Again, continuing with the topic of creative, which is very important, there's also this new feature that has been also recently launched. It's help you optimize your assets using AI. So basically Gemini AI technology in that case. What this does, it's called automatically created assets. It's also a campaign level opt-in feature that you can do. What's good about it is that it's very easy. All you have to do is go to campaign level and opt in the setting tab. What ACA does, it helps you generate high quality content that is relevant and relevant to each user query. So it helps you just modify your existing assets based on the user intent. And the way it does that is that it leverages landing page information and your existing assets to better tailor your assets and description to the user intent. What's coming in the pipeline with this technology is that we will be integrating Gen AI models to even further improve the quality of those fresh auction level type of assets that are being generated with ACA. So this is, I would also maybe recommend you testing this feature because it's very easy. It's a one-click type of feature that is very easy to implement, and it will help you specifically during sales season where like demand and queries are changing, being more customized with your RSA overall. Last but not least, in the topic of creatives, this is something that has been launched as well very recently that should be available in your account for all English-based account. It's called Conversational Experiences in Google Ads. It's kind of like your new conversational experiences in Google Ads that really allow you to ask the AI model to help you with your creative, with your assets. So all you have to do is literally talk to this AI because it takes into account all the information in your account, and it can help you generate new additional fresh creatives such as headline and description for your RSA. So this feature is available during campaign creation or when you are editing an existing RSA asset. So you should find this, for example, if you today are opening your account, you can just go to RSA, edit one RSA, and you should see this bar on the side where you can just have a conversation with the AI to make sure that it helps you create just more fresh headlines for your assets. So maybe I would just encourage you to using and testing this feature because it could really help you drive additional assets for you. Now moving on to the topic of targeting. Obviously, we cannot talk about search without talking about modern search structure. So we really encourage you to have a strong modern search account structure that is aligned with your business objective and for you to also be ready for peak season. What does it mean when we say modern search structure? We mean by that is consolidating to have a maximum number of impression per ad group. So really moving to smaller number of campaign, but with larger volume. The reason why we're going into this direction is because the AI now, we are moving into an AI type of era, and the AI will need to have more data, and consolidation of data would help you better optimize your campaign and performance overall. So I would say like the way to think of your structure in general is that if your keywords have if you have one landing page, or if you have like keywords that are part of the same landing page, they should be part of the same ad group. And if you have keywords that are that shared a similar goal or a similar budget, they should be part of the same campaign. So those usually are the two types of questions that I would recommend thinking of when adjusting your campaign structure. I would just share two examples of what it actually means to move to a modern search structure. One is, as I said, minimizing segmentation and moving to larger volume campaign or ad groups. So if you look at tip one, we always recommend to move all match types theme ad group into one ad group. So as you can see in the same example, there is no need today to have segmentation of ad groups by match type. We always recommend to actually merge them all under the same ad group, and hopefully simplifying by only using broad match, and we're going to discuss this in a minute. If I move to the second example as well here, is we always recommend to move away from single keyword type of ad group and to moving to more themed ad group, as you can see in the example. So you can drastically consolidate your ad groups or your campaign by thinking of theme instead of having just like one keyword per ad group in general. If I were to add on the topic of targeting, if I go back to what Dasil and Shivani were mentioning, during peak season, there's an influx of searches. Queries grow year over year. We've seen that during Black Friday week alone in MENA, searches grew by 22% year over year, and it was around 15% for the Singles Day week. So it just gives you an idea of like how much we see an increase in demand on search, and we are in a phase where it's just realistically impossible for any business to think of all the possible keywords that could make sense for your business, especially during sales season where you could expect an influx of demand, but also an influx of type of queries. And that's why we strongly now recommend moving to broad match, which is our updated match type. Broad match is not new, but the product has strongly evolved. I think it's a mistake by Google that we still call this broad match and we don't have a new name to it. But broad match is powered by the latest LLM technology, and it is a match type that is able to understand intent and not only focus on the semantic of the query. So by using broad match with smart bidding, you will be able to drive incremental conversion and conversion value. So plus 35% in conversion and plus 20% in conversion value when using smart bidding. Once again, we always recommend using broad match with smart bidding only, because smart bidding will allow you to control broad match instead of to make sure that broad match is well controlled and is well hitting your set TCPA or set ROAS. Now moving into the bidding and budget section, I think we cannot not talk about seasonality adjustment. There's always confusion on when to use seasonality adjustment, so I really hope to clarify this today. We understand that the sales season is a moment, it's a seasonal moment, but seasonality adjustment should only be used in certain instances. So we only recommend using seasonality adjustment when it's for a very short, when you are expecting a very short duration, short sales period duration, which is typically like around 2 to 3 days. And if you also expect an increase in conversion rate above 30%. So typically this is the only time where we would recommend using seasonality adjustment, when it's a short period and you expect a very high conversion rate during that period. In other cases, we would recommend more increasing your budget in a regular basis and simply playing with your target. So basically either decreasing your ROAS or increasing your CPA during high demand in an incremental way, and we're going to discuss this in a minute. So that's very important to clarify on what to clarify on seasonality adjustment, and this is relevant for search but also PMAX. What's important now to discuss is really the topic of bidding and budget. We always say that sales period is a bid and budget game, and that's true. So the most important topic to keep in mind during sales season is to manage your budget and manage your bid. So if I were to start with your budget, in that case, we would recommend to always make sure that you are setting a budget that would help you capture any additional headroom that would come as a result of this increase in demand on search in that case. So this is a recommendation only, but would recommend to increase your budget like in a gradual way, typically around 30% over your typical average daily spend, to make sure that you are allowed to capture more demand and hit your sales goal at the end of the season. An important tool to leverage here is Performance Planner. I hope this is not new to you, but for Performance Planner can allow you as well to plan ahead, plan ahead by forecasting your campaign performance, budget, and bids. Last but not least, we would also recommend using shared budget and portfolio bidding strategy. Now, I would recommend using portfolio bidding strategy on search to merge campaigns that share a similar goal. And we understand that maybe we are already like now close to like it's already September. You might not have time to restructure your campaign or your account. That's why this is where portfolio bidding strategy could really help you solve this issue by combining campaigns that share a similar budget and a similar bid target goal, and kind of like plug them under the same portfolio bidding strategy for better optimization and better budget utilization. So I would strongly recommend using this if it makes sense in your account, depending on your goal for the peak season. Moving to the bidding part now, obviously during peak season, we would recommend leveraging smart bidding, so meaning optimizing toward volume or value. We believe like as a retailer or as an e-commerce business, you would care about sales goal, and smart bidding is the right approach. So in that case, we would recommend setting a target ROAS that is really at the lowest possible acceptable ROAS for you to continue hitting your internal target goals, but at the same time still be able to capture the high demand and during peak season. Sorry. As I mentioned, similarly to budget, all changes that you do on bidding should be incremental. So we really recommend you adjusting your target in a gradual manner. So don't try to shock, let's say, the smart bidding strategy to not enter a new learning phase. So we would recommend to gradually adjust your target by 15 to 20% at a time. So once every other days or once every conversion cycle. To be able to not enter a new learning period. And also don't forget to also immediately adjust your targets once the sales period ends to be able to go back to your lower base like your typical baseline overall. As we mentioned, there's something called also the simulator in your account that also allow you to forecast performance up to 90 days in the future. And this simulator also takes into account seasonality effect. So this will also help you better plan for the peak season on your bidding strategy. So that's it for it. That's it for me on when it comes to search. I want to mention that we have a prepared checklist for you that will be attached at the end of the session. So please stay tuned till the end. It will we have listed all of the steps, but also much more for you to be able to be ready for the peak season specifically. Now I will hand over to Elisa for the PMAX session. She will join from my laptop. Sorry about this.
Sorry, just 1 second. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I think there is a small issue with my laptop, so I'm joining from Celine's laptop today. So thank you, Celine, for all the search tips. I know some of you who are on the call today we've worked together in the past, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elisa, and I'm the Performance Max Specialist in MENA, based in Dubai as well. And I'm here today to share some tips about Performance Max campaigns during peak season. So are you ready to design a winning strategy, unleash your creative potential, and fuel your business growth with PMAX during this season? I'm assuming you are, because you're attending this session today. So since you're here, allow me to show you how, step by step, with the tools and guidance you need to succeed during peak with PMAX this season. So first, let's start with your PMAX campaign strategy that will help you deliver impactful results during peak period. As a first step, we recommend structuring your campaign based on your goals. So it's very important to streamline and consolidate wherever possible. Try to avoid having multiple campaigns in your accounts because AI thrives on data, and a simplified structure will allow your campaigns to learn faster, make better predictions, and optimize spending for the highest ROI. So as a best practice, we recommend creating one PMAX campaign per share budgets and objective, and you can use your asset groups to categorize by theme or audience. But if your marketing objectives have different budgets, targets, locations, or creative strategy, then you can create separate campaigns. So if we take an example, previous slides. Yeah. So for example, you can prioritize key products by creating a dedicated PMAX campaign with a lower ROAS target to boost visibility. Additionally, if needed, you can separate your campaigns for different goals. For example, you can have one campaign for new customer acquisition, another one for retention, and another one for store visits goals if you have offline goals to address those specific needs. But keep in mind a few things when you structure your campaigns. So first, as we said, avoid over-segmenting. Combining is always better. Second, if you're planning to run standard shopping campaigns alongside PMAX campaign, keep in mind that if you have overlapping offers in both campaign types, and if they're running in both accounts, PMAX will take precedence over standard shopping campaign. And lastly, if you're planning to launch new campaigns and not just refresh the creatives of your existing ones, make sure that you launch your new campaigns at least 2 weeks in advance to allow enough time for data collection and ramp up. And of course, before you launch any campaign, because we're talking about retail here and we're selling product, it's extremely important to prioritize your GMC feed. Make sure that your GMC feed is healthy during this season. Because something you're going to hear me say a lot is that good in, good out. So if your feed is healthy, most likely your output will be healthy and you have positive results. So ensure your product data is up to date and accurate. including the title, the descriptions, the images, and the attribute. And regularly check for and address any disapproved products or account suspensions. You can also utilize custom labels to organize your feed and leverage product insights and recommendations for data-driven optimization. Because, as we said, a healthy GMC feed is crucial for peak, and ensuring your products are eligible to serve effectively on retail campaigns. And if you want to know more about it, you can join the Retail Tech Breakfast Series session that is happening on the 1st of October by just scanning the QR code that is on this slide. And don't worry, if you don't scan it now, we'll be sharing the presentation later, so you will have it also with you. Moving on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is all about winning your new customers and driving more value from existing ones with customer lifecycle goals. So PMax now offers advanced customer lifecycle goals solutions to help you optimize for both new customer acquisition and long-term customer value. These goals leverage your first-party data and smart bidding strategies to drive sustainable profitability. So for acquiring new customers, which is the box on the left of the slide, you have 2 modes. You can either choose between the new customer value mode, which will prioritize the high value new customers while still valuing conversions from existing one. And you have the new customer only mode, which will only focus on acquiring new customers. And the early results have shown that new customer value mode can boost ROAS by 9%, improve new customer ratios by 5%, and reduce acquisition costs by 7%. So it's proven to drive results. Now, another new lifecycle goal that we have in PMax is the retention goal, and it's a beta. So if your focus is on retaining your existing customers and winning your customers back, you can use the customer win back mode that will help you re-engage lapsed users and nurture them throughout their life cycle. It will strategically utilize the customer-centric goals in PMax to help you drive this objective. So ideally, by using one of these goals, PMax can help you achieve like a more holistic and profitable approach to your customer base. Tip number 3. You have to go beyond online if you're an omni-channel retailer. Make sure to drive in-store traffic with PMax. In today's omni-channel world, optimize for both online and offline success. You can drive store visits in the UAE or encourage local actions like calls and directions in other markets to increase foot traffic and overall engagement. Also, now it's currently available in the UAE as well. You can bridge the gap between online browsing and in-store shopping with local inventory ads. These ads will effectively promote your nearby store inventory, letting shoppers know you have the items they want and providing convenient pickup options. So by showcasing your product, by showcasing your product availability and pickup details directly in the ad format, you can entice local customers to visit your store and make a purchase. So now that we've set the strategy on PMax, it's time to unleash your creativity and make sure that your PMax campaigns truly shine. So we mentioned before good in, good out. So tip number 4 is all about supercharging your PMax with powerful creatives. Think inputs and control the outputs. You can fuel your PMax campaign with high-quality creatives to maximize their impact, especially during peak seasons. Remember, as we said, the principle of good in, good out. The better the input, the better the output. I'm sorry I'm spamming you with this, but it really works. So provide a diverse range of assets exceeding the minimum requirements to enhance reach and performance. You're going to find a helpful checklist on the next slide that you can bookmark to use in the future. But there are a couple of things I wanted to share with you before we move on. So tip number 1, ensure your campaigns perform consistently by refreshing your creatives gradually, ideally at least 2 weeks before peak events like Black Friday. If you're not creating dedicated campaigns for these events, consider using separate asset groups within your existing campaigns to highlight promotions without disrupting your evergreen products. So what you will do is that you will keep your existing asset group and then you'll add one on top, just to make sure that you still have data in the campaign and it's still performing and you're not disrupting any data, any performance. And also, don't forget to regularly check ad strength and asset group reporting for insights on which creatives to optimize. And in fact, we've seen that advertisers who improve their ad strength to excellent can see an average of 6% more conversions. And here's the checklist I was talking about. This checklist, I have it bookmarked, and I hope you have it bookmarked by now. I've shared this multiple times in previous presentations because this is exactly what you need to run a PMAX campaign and try to ensure that you maintain an excellent ad strength. And I also have good news to share. Based on the feedback of our advertisers and agencies, we finally have asset level reporting available in PMAX, which will allow you now to track the performance of individual assets with conversion data. And of course, don't forget about video. Video is a core part of achieving improved performance in PMAX. Really don't estimate the power of video in your PMAX campaigns, because by including a variety of video assets in different orientations, horizontal, vertical, and square, you can significantly enhance your reach and engagement on YouTube. In fact, our data shows that advertisers who use all three orientations see 20% more conversions versus those who only use horizontal. So take control of your video strategy and upload your own high-quality videos to avoid relying on auto-generated ones. Because remember that if you don't upload at least one video per asset group, PMAX will auto-generate ones for you. Another thing that you could do during this season is to make sure that you tailor your messaging for peak season by highlighting the promotions with eye-catching promotion extensions. You can set them up in advance and schedule them for maximum impact. And for broader campaign coverage, you can add them at an account level instead of at the campaign level. And to feature your top products, you can use custom labels in your feed to segment them into dedicated campaigns or asset groups and adjust your ROAS targets accordingly and add the relative signals accordingly per asset group per theme. And always remember that a lower ROAS can help you increase visibility and drive more conversions. Another new thing to share, and this was shared during GML, now asset generation is now available in PMAX. So you can streamline your PMAX campaigns creation with Google AI's automated asset generation. So during campaign and asset group setup, or when editing existing assets, you can leverage AI to instantly generate both text and image assets. So Google AI will analyze your website to learn about your business and suggest relevant assets, which you can then review and customize. You can also use your own prompts to generate bespoke seasonal assets, ensuring your creatives are always fresh and engaging. And we've seen that advertisers who use asset generation are 63% more likely to achieve good or excellent ad strength, setting their campaign up for success. And we've seen previously that an excellent ad strength can help you drive up to 6% more conversion. So make use of the tool today if you can. Another cool available tool in Google Ads is AI image editing. So you can enhance your PMAX creatives with AI-powered image editing tools that is now available in the platform and asset library. So you can transform existing images or those generated with Gen AI to create compelling seasonal variations. So you can use features like background replacement, object removal, cropping, enhancement, and novel image generation to do that. And so you can just use it to match any campaign theme or objective. And the good news as well is that this integration this now integrates with your GMC feed, so it ensures that your product images are always optimized for peak performance. It's really trying to simplify the campaign setup here. Tip number 5, try to, especially now, try to maximize your reach. Try to maximize the reach and the relevance of your ad with URL expansion and automatically created assets. So URL expansion will empower Google's machine learning to dynamically select the best landing page for each user, increasing the potential auctions and driving performance. So it's going to try to customize your ad to the user to make it more relevant. And automatically created assets will do the same by enhancing relevance with tailored headlines and descriptions extracted from the landing pages or existing ads. So make sure as well that your landing pages are up to date, because PMax, if this is enabled, will use them. And we've seen that advertisers who use final URL expansion can see on average an increase of 9% in conversion or conversion value at a similar CPA or ROAS. So it actually works. Last but not least, stay ahead of the curve and capitalize on peak season's dynamic landscape. So real-time optimization is key to fuel business growth and ensure your PMax campaigns are always capturing the best opportunities. So tip number 4 is about using our AI-powered insights to optimize your campaigns in real time. So it's actually, this is tip number, So tip number 6 is going to be a quick one because Celine already covered it. It's going to be about adjusting your targets and budget to capture seasonal demand. So here I'm not, Celine covered it already, but I just wanted to emphasize on one point, which is the importance of defining your primary objective. So do you want to maximize conversion or prioritize efficiency? If your goal is on driving conversions, so you have to increase visibility by lowering your ROAS target and allocating a larger budget. If efficiency is key, you need to set a specific ROAS target and budget higher than your usual spending to capture increased holiday traffic. And to ensure a smooth transition and optimal performance, we recommend gradually adjusting your PMax campaign budget and ROAS, ideally at least 4 to 6 weeks before peak shopping periods. And in case you anticipate changes in conversion rate, utilize seasonality adjustment. And finally, for accurate forecasting and peak efficiency, you can leverage Performance Planner tool that will help you better plan. And now, our last tip, which is AI-powered insights to optimize your campaigns in real time. Probably you know this, but there is an insight page and recommendation page for PMax that is being constantly improved and updated with new reports and insights. So use this page, use the insights page to better understand how automation is driving your campaign performance, to identify areas of improvement and potential growth with AI Essentials, which is a new recommendation category in Google Ads. And then go to the and then try to apply the recommendations that are relevant for the business, and you can also prioritize them based on the score that is available there to see what's the highest uplift that you could get out of it. So please use the insights and recommendation page, because this is very helpful and it will help you gain time and get you real-time optimization. So that's it for me and for PMax. Thank you so much for your time. I'll now hand it over to Maureen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elisa. Right, we're going to get started with Demand Gen. Who's still with me? Right. So first, I want to know if you're already running demand gen. So give me an emoji. Thank you for all of that. Give me an emoji, a thumbs up if you're currently running demand gen, a heart if you're not running demand gen, but you've heard about it and you're very curious to learn more, and a crab if you've never heard about demand gen before. And don't worry, I won't be mad. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, Basil. Okay, we're gonna get started, and you're probably wondering right now, after hearing about PMax and after hearing about search, you're thinking, where exactly does demand gen fit into all of this? So I thought that I would start with this funnel breakdown, because I think it would help you to understand that demand gen is essentially the bridge between awareness and performance. And based on the inputs and goals that you give it, it can either turn more into a consideration campaign to consider your product or a performance campaign. When we say consideration, it's very important. We're not talking about brand consideration, because that is what is covered by your YouTube video reach, video view campaigns that are higher up in the funnel, right? So we're talking about product consideration here. Now, all throughout demand gen is a very new and exciting campaign with which focuses a lot on creatives and audiences in comparison, for example, to PMax, where audiences and inventory controls are limited. With demand gen, all of these things can be very much fine-tuned specifically for your creatives, and that's why these topics we'll be talking about today. Now, to show you our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about campaign setup, because I know that demand gen is a little bit new for some of you still. We're going to talk about audiences, and we're also going to talk about creatives. However, what's very important here is that what we hear again and again is that people aren't entirely sure how to set up demand gen campaigns for different marketing objectives. And so what we've done is we have a little star color theme going on here. We have a green color theme for whenever it's about mid-funnel campaigns, and a red star whenever it's about a lower funnel campaign driving conversions and for the highest performance, right? So watch out for this whilst we get started. So we're going to get started with the campaign setup first. And again, we have our star scheme here, of course. Moving on. First and foremost, when planning demand gen campaigns for peak season, you should decide on your marketing objective. So as mentioned, demand gen can drive both demand generation, build product consideration, or also grow your sales and drive conversions. However, the key is in optimizing towards the right KPIs from the start. To give you an idea what this means, we work with some airline clients, and they run consideration demand gen campaigns, optimizing towards flight searches, and then they run more performance-based demand gen campaigns where they're optimizing towards flight bookings, right? So both is possible with demand gen. We have some retailers that are optimizing towards add to cart with their consideration campaigns, and then towards sales and checkouts for their lower funnel campaigns. Moving into the second part of this tip, we also need to align with our campaign objective. So again, here sales is very clearly a lower funnel objective. Leads could be both, depending what exactly we're measuring. And then website traffic is very clearly more on the consideration front. Okay, our next tip is about your budget. And we want to be super transparent here, because I know a lot of the time this can be a little bit of a black box. So if you are optimizing towards performance and you already know your target CPA, then optimize towards conversions with a target CPA. Your budget should then be about 15 times your target CPA. If you don't know yet what your target CPA should be, go with a maximized conversion strategy and shift to target CPA afterwards, once you've accumulated about 50 conversions per ad group in the last 30 days. Now, if you want to focus more on consideration, you want to bring people to your website, use a max clicks bidding strategy, because that one is more mid-funnel. There's no specific budget, no minimum required. And so that way it's a little bit easier to start out with, of course. Okay. Moving on into our next tip, which is around the learning period. This is something that I hear again and again. Especially with peak season, it's important to start early. The learning period is 2 weeks, followed by about 4 to 6 weeks of an optimization period. After that, you still need to consider the conversion delay before evaluating the performance. During this learning period, we would highly recommend that you don't do any manual changes for at least 7 days after launch, and to keep bid changes to a minimum. We would say maybe 5% plus or minus to avoid volatility. Now, we've also heard feedback that a lot of advertisers, they already have existing campaigns, and so they're wondering about how to scale. And so here's just a couple of tips on that. First of all, raise budgets by 20 to 30% max every day, but monitor performance. So wait for the campaign to stabilize, to catch up, and only continue to raise budgets when the results are stable. An alternative here is if you have a specific budget that is, let's say, 10 times as high as your normal budget for the peak season, you can launch a completely new campaign with the new budget. That means you already have your historical data and you know what the best practices are, and therefore you can create this completely new campaign and replace your existing campaign with this new campaign and the higher budget. Moving into audiences, also very important, obviously, for demand gen. So for audiences, the very first thing, the most important part is that you should create an audience hypothesis, or even multiple if you have multiple audiences. If you're trying to reach several different ones, again, we would recommend different hypotheses here. Your creative should be based on these audiences, right? So an example could be a young, French-speaking, travel-loving Californian mom. That could be one of your audiences, and you can build your creative around this specific hypothesis. Now, also sticking with audiences for now, what we've done here is we've just added a list of all the different audiences that are available. Whilst all the audiences are obviously very important, again, we've added in different stars here, depending on which audiences we think are most important, depending on your objective. There's one audience type that I want to highlight specifically, and they're called lookalike audiences. You might have heard about them before. Google used to have a similar type of audience called similar audiences, but they've been sunset a while ago. They've now brought back lookalike audiences, which are a lot more powerful than what we've had before, and they can be adjusted based on how broad or how narrow you want their definition to be. Lookalike audiences are audiences that are based on your own data, so on your website visitors, on your converted users, and will create a, as the name suggests, a lookalike audience that you can target as well, which is brilliant for creating this additional demand during peak season. To call out here, lookalike audiences are completely unique to demand gen campaigns, and therefore they're so powerful. Moving into our last section, creatives, which is, I would say, for demand gen, the absolute most important one. Tanya, feel free to add your question into the chat, then we can answer them there. Firstly, it's very important to prepare multiple creatives. By that, we don't just mean single images, carousel ads, and videos, but also multiple for each of these formats. So consider creating different video cuts and lengths, 6 seconds, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, and test them, see how they're working together. Other than the actual format of the creatives, what's also important is what is in the creatives, of course. So the content itself. It should be very, very engaging. You can see a few examples here. It should be visually aesthetic. It should be bright and bold. You should see the brand often, etc. But it should also be engaging. You definitely want a call to action. What's working very well at the moment are these creator ads, and it should build curiosity. Now, you might be thinking, you have your marketing objective, right? You've decided on that. You have your KPIs, you have your campaign objective, your creatives, and your audience hypothesis. But how does all of that come together? What is the campaign structure supposed to look like? So I have a couple of examples for you here. Now, for mid-funnel, right? So consideration, our recommendation is to start with one campaign where you combine video and image ads together. This way, it's easy to manage and everyone is driving towards the same goal. For performance, however, we actually see best results when things are set up slightly differently. And I have an example right here. So you can see that we have two separate campaigns. We have one for video only and one for image only. Consider here what has worked historically. If you've used VAC, so video action campaigns in the past that worked really well, I would highly recommend that you run a video only demand gen campaign. And then on the side, you test an image only demand gen campaign. If you've run discovery campaigns in the past and they work well for you, I would recommend to try an image-only demand gen campaign and potentially test a video-only one on the side. The good thing with this setup is that both campaigns can have different goals, different KPIs, different budgets, different settings, so you have a lot more control. The structure will also give you specifically that control for creatives and also for inventory, which I'm going to dive into now for a second. We have a very specific feature here called creative preferences. This feature is only available for videos, where you can choose where your video shows up, right? So for example, you've created a brilliant video that is for shorts. Make sure that this can show up for shorts specifically and not for other campaigns. Okay, moving on, we're almost at the end. You can also see a breakdown of these different inventories when it comes to performance. So here, we're in one of the performance reports. If you go to the ad level view, campaign, ad group, and ad, you can then see the breakdown of where it is working well. You can see where the arrow is pointing. You can see the in-feed and shorts performance data. And based on that, you can then optimize. Okay, now we're at our last tip. We recommend refreshing your video. If we just go back for a second, what I just want to mention here as well, that this report can be used in order to prevent creative fatigue, which is something that might happen over time. It's something that we observe from social as well. So obviously this is something that can happen. We want to refresh our creatives, and something to easily refresh your creatives is our AI generation tools. For example, you can generate new images very, very easily within the ad creatives. And then last but not least, aim for excellent ad strength. This means including 20 images, all the headlines, descriptions available, 5 videos, etc., to give the system enough choices in order to bring the full potential to life with demand gen. I know that there's a lot of questions in the chat, so we're going to have a look at that now, and I'm going to hand things over now to apps. Over to you, Hilul.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Hi, everyone. Let's skip to the apps part and talk about how we can capture the biggest demand peak season through app opportunities. As you know, the holiday season presents a huge opportunity for growth, and it's also the period of the most competitive time as well. To ensure your business not only survives, but also thrives during this critical time, we need to shift our focus to apps as well. Our projection for this year is all e-commerce transactions, 35% of this all e-commerce purchases to come from mobile this year. When we look at the 15% year-over-year surge in consumer app spend, we're expecting a bigger e-commerce transaction this year. And this shows us that the mobile-first era is in full speed, and the apps are the epicenter of this transformation as well. But how can we use the power of the apps? We can deliver more personalized experiences. We can tap into market growth opportunities and drive substantial revenue growth for apps. One of my favorite features during these peak moments are seasonality adjustment. In peak moments like Black Friday, single days, you might be expecting a higher conversion rates and want to take the full advantage of these moments as well. We understand these key moments are often time limited and time sensitive, and it's crucial for your app campaigns to react to changes as fast as possible. So seasonality adjustment is allowing you to do that by manually adjusting the conversion rates in your app campaign. So as advertisers, you will be able to directly inform the bidding in our campaigns about the upcoming events, and that can change significantly your conversion rates. Once you define your conversion rate during that specific promotion time, the campaign will manually adjust during that specific time, and the adjustments will be done for that seasonal moment. And once your seasonal moment ends in your end date, the conversion rates and everything will go back to normal as soon as your event finishes. And you might be asking, what is the difference of this from smart bidding? What seasonality adjustments is exactly doing it? In most cases, Google's smart bidding algorithms are robust enough to handle surges in traffic and demand, and the conversions without requiring any manual intervention. Google AI smart bidding leverages machine learning to dynamically adjust bids based on real-time data and user signals. But while smart bidding can handle most of these scenarios, there are instances like Singles Days, Black Friday, and during these extreme increases in conversion rates, typically exceeding 30% over a few days, as you can see in the graph as well, we need to we need to intervene sometimes manually as well, and often these cases during major sales events or holidays as well. So what seasonality adjustment does is that without taking much ramp up time, seasonality adjustment kicks in and unlock your demand based on your new conversion rates. One very important thing during these seasonality adjustments or big major budget updates is your budgets as well. Your daily budget should always be like in order to capture that demand as well. So if your budget is limited, even though you increase your conversion rates or again bids, you won't be unlocking much demand in the market. We also put a link in here to see the seasonality adjustment best practices for app campaigns. I strongly recommend having a look and then reach out to us if you have any questions. And another great product from our side to bundle with seasonal adjustment is that promotion assets. Promotion assets are giving you a more personalized, more different platform to offer your specific promotion. Uses the AI power to integrate your promo offer in a more visually appealing, and saves you from creating different creatives for each promotion. As you can see in the pictures, you can use your promo code, you can highlight your promo time as well, and you can leverage promotion assets in your app campaigns. Why we love app promotions assets in app campaigns? Because it allows you to reach wider audiences by serving your promo assets across display and YouTube inventories. That eye-catching, that visual formats gives your offers and like reach your promos to wider audiences. During this Black Friday promotions, it will be really wise to combine this with your seasonality adjustments. And my, especially, I think this was the top of mind question for many of us as well. I'm sure many of you are already leveraging the GMC feeds in your app campaigns, meaning you're showcasing your GMC products in your app campaigns. This was a update we've been long waited in our side as well, but this is giving us to filtering that feed in your app campaigns. So the feed filtering option is just allowing you to control over your feed. You're able to filter your feed based on category, item ID, and the custom label. This gives great power for you to offer more personalized journey. You can focus on hero products. You can focus on highlight on a part of your promotion. You can drive specific products during your peak season, and this can be more targeted based on the products you choose. This is currently under beta, but again, and the allow listing is happening quite frequently. And while we have time until the peak moments, I would strongly recommend testing as well. Sorry. And the last stage, while we talked about different features, different products specifically for this peak season, it will be nice to remember the things that we need to do between now and October before the peak season arrives. Be always like get familiar with the full suite of Google App solutions. You can start by checking your Web to App Connect setup. This is one of the most important things that you can do during this peak season, considering the complex user journey. The users are checking your products on web channels, then switching on the app. It's really crucial to combine that bridge through Web to App Connect. You can simply check your situation, the status in App Advertising Hub in your Google Ads UI. And you can launch and get familiar with iOS install campaigns. When we look at the most valuable users, they're often in iOS, and it's really important to capture that user audience and during this peak season as well. And also the YouTube is an important inventory for iOS campaigns. I would strongly recommend starting your iOS campaigns with strong videos and reach out to users through really compelling videos. And lastly, you can leverage feeds, new customer acquisition goals for app campaigns that came out quite recently as well. Now you can only focus on new customers for your businesses to increase your acquisition goals. And again, as I mentioned, you can test out seasonality adjustment for your app campaigns for that specific periods. When we look at the creatives, creative strategy is vital for these peak moments as well. Seasonal focus for your asset is another important part. Crafting your assets, resonating with your target audience, drawing the past successes is important. You can check your previous compelling creative insights and just like updating those messages during this peak season with the help of promotion assets will be vital as well. And again, you can prepare for the specific sales events, 3 days, 4 days, up to 14 days. You can use seasonality adjustments. You can use promotional assets. You can use the feed filtering options to highlight that promotional products will be really useful for driving success in these peak moments. And app campaign for engagement is always helpful to reconnect with your users, reconnect and reach to your already existing users. And lastly, the main campaign hygienes are bids, budgets goes hand in hand. In order to test these features, the creatives, often you need to give the campaign enough budget headroom to show the real impact. If your bids and budgets are limited, you won't be able to compete in the market, and you won't be able to test out these features carefully. So we always recommend give some budgets, increase budgets in order to keep up with the competition as well. I see some questions on the chat. I'm really looking forward to deep dive into those. But lastly, we wanted to show you this product checklist, 2024 product checklist that has been prepared by our experts. You can scan the QR code and you can have this checklist in your phone. And again, you can just refer to these informations if you have any questions. By saying that, I think this is the time for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Ilul. I think we have a couple of questions in the chat. There's one that just came in on apps as well. So if you maybe want to start with that.
Let's start with app.
Yeah.
Just a sec, sorry. Most of my app re-engagement delivery has been on search instead of display and video inventory, which means images and videos aren't shown, only text. Hi, Kim, I was reading your question. So there might be different reasons for that. One option, like one guess, is that your bids might be lower than intended, so the campaign might be only opening up search. Another thing is that your audiences, you can always check your audiences in Audience Manager, and you can see the split of their audience list in different networks. Search might be the one having majority of your audience list, therefore you might be showcasing your ads on search only. But my first guess is checking your bid creatives. If your bid is too low, you're often unlocking only search inventories. And once you increase your bids, you'll be able to see more traffic coming from videos as well. So I would first test by increasing the bid, and then checking your audience sizes, the split between the networks. And those will be important things to tackle this. Tanya's question is that we're starting with re-engagement campaigns, and what should be the bidding value? In-app actions or in-app action value? The goal is to get more sales and revenue. That's a great question. So currently we have two options on app engagement campaigns. You can either focus on maximizing your purchase numbers, or you can focus on your ROAS, your return of ad investments, and this will be more focus your ROAS numbers, profitability. The other one is more maximizing your purchases. This is again based on your strategy. You can choose one of them. If you never done a re-engagement campaign, sometimes I recommend giving some signals to the campaign to see if the campaign is bringing enough in-app actions. So therefore, I recommend starting with in-app action, then move to target ROAS. But if your profitability targets, your ROAS targets are strict, and your strategy is based on revenue and profitability, you can always start with in-app action value as well, which we call it target ROAS bidding. Sure. If there's no more app questions, I think I answered two that I see in the chat, but feel free to jump in if you have any questions at the moment. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to Maureen and other experts to answer the other questions.
Thank you so much, Ilul. I think the questions on the chat are being answered as we speak. Maureen, Oleg, Basel, Shivani, Elisa, Celine, let me know if there's anything you guys want to add as well. I know we're over time, so thank you everyone for sticking behind for some answers.
Yeah, I'm happy to just say a word about demand gen versus performance max, because I can understand that a lot of you might be a little bit confused. I think hopefully with the funnel, it made things a little bit clearer that, again, demand gen is supposed to be the connector between that brand consideration and action part. It's really to generate, like the campaign name says, to generate demand for tomorrow. So whilst it does also drive conversions and can help with the performance, I would not expect the same cost per action with a demand gen campaign than we would expect with a performance max campaign, right? So in terms of performance, they wouldn't be on the same level or in terms of the cost. But demand gen is all about driving more users and driving more customers for tomorrow, right? Generating that demand. So I would highly recommend that potentially, if you haven't run demand gen before, that you start optimizing towards consideration with it and think about your buying funnel. So what could be some of the conversions that are just a little bit above the final conversion that you're trying to drive? Again, with an airline, this could be a flight search, or with a retailer, this could be an add to cart, or with somebody who's looking to drive lead generation, it could be somebody starting to fill in the lead form or clicking on the website with the lead form, because we're trying to drive this product consideration. One of the biggest advantages, I would say, of demand gen is that you have a lot of that control about your inventory, about your audience, where what shows, whilst performance is very much focused on, like the name suggests, performance. And so you don't necessarily have that control, but it is a lot higher and a lot more optimized towards performance.